Hi, my name is Hannah England, and I'm a professional graphic designer and illustrator. A friend of mine asked me if I would do this video for her chapter of the American Heritage Girls, and so that is this video. What I want to talk to you about is 5 essential things that you absolutely need if you want to become a professional artist. After that, I want to share a little bit with you about what it's like to be a professional artist once you've mastered these 5 topics. But before that, I want to tell you a little bit about myself so that you know I'm legit. Like I said, I'm a professional graphic designer and illustrator. Full-time, I work for a consumer electronics company. I work mostly on the catalog that we send out to our customers. I also do some miscellaneous projects like logos and t-shirts occasionally. When I'm not doing that, I also freelance, which means that I get my own clients and sort of work for myself. Doing that, I've made things all the way from making a piece of artwork for somebody's home all the way up to entire branding schemes for companies and small businesses. When I'm not doing my professional work, either my work or my freelance work, I'm working on my personal professional goals. Eventually, I really want to do children's book illustration and graphic novels. So whenever I have any time, I will be practicing that, learning things about that, listening to podcasts, watching videos on YouTube, basically doing things that will help me reach that goal that I have. There's a whole lot of work and a little bit of luck that comes into becoming a professional artist. But before you become a professional artist, you definitely have to have some basics down pat. And the 5 things that I recommend absolutely having before you become a professional artist are as follows. The first thing that you need is a passion for creating. And I don't just mean that you like to make art, because there are plenty of people who have art as a hobby, and that's perfectly fine if you want to do something else as your career, but then be an artist on the side for fun for yourself. If you want to be a professional artist, though, which means making a significant amount of your income off of your artwork, you have to have more than just an interest in art. Basically, if the thought of not making art hurts way more than the thought of doing scary things like talking to clients or super boring things like working on your self-employment taxes, then you should probably consider pursuing arts. I liked artwork so much as a kid that I got 2 art history textbooks for Christmas one year, and I was completely happy about that. I read them cover to cover and I just absorbed all that I could learning it. I drew on everything I could get my hands on. If that sounds like you, then you probably have that passion that you need in order to start your journey of being a professional artist. The second thing that you need is going to be an art education. This doesn't necessarily mean going to college for art. Having classes with peers and with teachers and getting personalized feedback is super invaluable, and it will help you learn a lot faster, and it will also help you learn a lot more strongly the foundations that you need. But there are certainly plenty of online resources and books that you can get from the library that are free or cheap, that will teach you a lot of things about those foundations and will help you to gain your own arts education. Don't stop educating yourself. Keep pursuing learning, whether it's formal or informal. I was homeschooled in middle school and in high school, so I had to teach myself artwork. Mostly I was just getting books at the library. The internet was a lot smaller than it is now, but there were still some resources on there. Anything that I could get my hands on, I just ate it up, learned as much as I possibly could. I did go to college for graphic design, and in my graphic design school there was also a very heavy emphasis on just fine arts in general, so I took drawing classes and color theory classes and all that. I learned very fast. Then my artwork skills went from, you know, this high to like way up here off the screen during my years at college, but it didn't teach me everything that I needed to know. And in fact, a lot of the things that I find the most valuable in my informational library in my head right now are things that I actually learned after college, because I knew enough to know what I needed to learn, and I specifically pursued those things. Basically, whether you're self-educating or whether you're taking classes, just never stop pursuing learning more. The third thing that you need is connections with other artists. Now, this is something that going to classes or going to college for art has an advantage over just learning online, because you are automatically going to be meeting your peers in the other students. You're going to be meeting teachers and mentors who, even after college, are going to be able to give you feedback and help whenever you need feedback and help. You can also build a community online, but the main thing is to build relationships with other people, where you and other artists help each other out and root for each other and sort of are on the same team as you're battling all the difficult things that being an artist can entail. The first job, like job that I ever had was actually when I was a student in college. I was a sophomore, and one of my teachers liked my work and liked me enough that he actually recommended me for a job. So I wasn't looking for a job, I didn't apply to this or anything. And then after I graduated, the man that was my boss at that job did the same thing for me. So my college job and my first like real world design job were from people recommending me because they knew me and I knew them. The same thing with freelance stuff. A lot of the freelance projects that I get are from people who know people that I've done work for. So really making those connections, building friendships with people that you work with and that you work for is super, super important. And it's great having an arts community behind you, because then it's not just you going it alone. It's you and sort of your pack, your art tribe of people that you've collected who you sort of help each other, and it makes the whole process a lot easier. So that's really something that's important to do, is build your community, build those connections with other people. The fourth thing that you're going to need is a direction. Now, there are certain foundational skills that every visual artist is going to need to know. Things like line, shape, form, value, texture, spacing, composition. And at this point in your lives, those things would be the things that you should be concentrating on. Those are the things that you should be building really hard and learning super, super well. Don't treat them like little low-level things that you learn once and then you move on from. You should be constantly drilling these foundational things throughout your entire arts career. But there are a lot of different jobs that you can have in the visual arts world, and even though they all use those foundational things, each different type of industry has specific other more specific skills that you'll need to know how to do. If you want to be a graphic designer, say, you're going to need to learn programs like Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. If you want to become a character designer for video games or animations, you're going to have to know how to draw human anatomy. You're going to have to learn how to draw folds and drapery and costuming. If you want to be a graphic novelist or a children's book illustrator like I do, you have to know how to follow a story. You have to know how to build up a plot and make interest in the characters that you're drawing. So depending on what you want to do, there are additional higher level skills that you'll need to focus on for that industry. I played with tons of mediums and I researched so many different industries as I was growing up, and even still now, just because I find it interesting, trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do art, but I didn't necessarily know what kind of art I wanted to do. It was really only in the past several years that it came together in my head, and I realized that the core of what I really love to do is visual storytelling. So things like children's books and graphic novels that I both write and illustrate myself are what I'm the most interested in, and that is what I'm trying to sort of push myself towards. I mean, I didn't realize any of that until after I had graduated from college, so if you don't know exactly what you want to do with the rest of your life right now, don't even worry about it. Learn foundational things, and the industry thing will kind of come later on in your life. So that's something you should be thinking about now, but don't need to actually have figured out yet, if that makes sense. The fifth and final crucial thing that I want to talk about today in terms of stuff that you need to do to become a professional artist is to have patience. You'll have to learn how to do things that scare or bore you sometimes, and you have to have patience with yourself as you learn how to do those things. Don't expect yourself to be perfect. Don't expect the life track that you take to be so perfectly smooth and straightforward. Things are going to be kind of bumping around. So have patience with who you are, have patience with your journey as you are learning and growing, and have patience with the way that things are happening. Once you have these 5 things, then you're ready to be a professional artist. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to know everything that you need to know, but these are good places to start. Now, you've learned a little bit about who I am and what I do through what I've already said, but my art journey is only one art journey. It's only one story. So I wanted to get the feedback from some other artists that I know and ask them a few simple questions just to sort of give you all a more overall view of what it could be like to be an artist professionally. What kind of art do you do?
So I am a mixed media artist, I guess technically. I kind of say I'm a texture artist.
I'm primarily known for my paintings and also for my drawings, especially of cats.
I use pastels on sanded paper, and the reason I use the sanded paper is it's specially made for pastel, and it is very toothy.
Most of my career at this point, I focused on figurative work, abstracted figurative work. I paint mainly, but I also draw.
What's the best thing about being an artist?
For me, the best thing about being an artist is probably controlling my own time as far as I just really like planning what I'm going to do every day instead of having to be on another person's schedule.
Because most of us artists are weird, we usually connect immediately without really having known each other before. Being weird and being part of a community of weirdos that all almost immediately love one another just because that's who we are.
The best thing is that I can get an idea in my mind and I can carry it out. It won't always look exactly like I thought it would, but I'm on my own to carry out a whole idea. And it's up to me to make it as good as I need to make it.
Yeah, it just helps. It's a haven for me. It's a place to not only escape to, but find my anchors in the world and my connection to the world. And I think I take it for granted how much it helps me to be okay with being human. I don't know if everyone has their thing that helps them to stay connected to the world, but that art is definitely what it is for me. So,
What's something difficult about being an artist?
Difficult, I would say getting enough income can be kind of hard. So my solution to that has been to think about other skills I have that are also things I could make money from, and focusing a little more on that so that I still have freedom to make the art I want to make.
If you all of a sudden one day decide that you want to draw 3,000 cats, you're going to have a hard time convincing normal people that you aren't crazy, that you're just having fun and that you just like drawing cats.
Keeping focused and coming back around to a good idea, like what it is I choose to draw at the moment, what I would make a series of drawings about, and keeping loose so that I'm drawing with my whole arm and not being too nitpicky and not being too perfectionist, to just be gesturing in my art.
Definitely, I have expectations that I set for myself, and even though I feel like it's never been a choice to be an artist, it's always been something I've done, and it's not necessarily something that gets turned on and off, but I definitely have days where it's just not flowing, and then I feel incredibly lost, like something's wrong, you know. And after years and years of doing it, I've gotten to a point where I can just kind of accept it. Like, this is just one of those days, and it's okay, and it will come back. But that can be really just heart-wrenching, a little bit disorienting, frustrating, because yeah, I want to always be in the flow, always be in the zone, and sometimes it's just not happening. So.
Do you have another source of income outside of making your art?
I do still have another form of income that is working at a restaurant 4 nights a week. So I've been doing that for a long time and hopefully won't do it for too much longer. I want to be 100% creative soon. But still make most of my money working at a restaurant right now.
I was working as someone that taught people how to do art, and then I was also a teacher, so I was still teaching. But I was doing that for a number of years, and I found that my own artistic inclinations kept declining, and that I was no longer doing work for myself. I was no longer happy with the work that I was doing, if I did any at all. And it really kind of took a toll on my soul that I didn't understand at the time. So very recently, I started only doing my artwork as my sole source of income, and I will admit that I am not succeeding in reaching my goals as far as money goes, but I will say that I am significantly more happy with the way that my life is turning out now than I was when I was spending a lot of time trying to pretend that I wasn't an artist.
I'm lucky to be married to a scientist who feeds us.
Yes, I do. And for the earlier part of my life, like teens and throughout my 20s, it was random jobs that I could find. Some of them were in the art and design field, like faux finishing houses, making walls look like marble, and I worked as a floral designer for a while. I worked as for various craftspeople as their just kind of like factory worker, making their work that they designed. And then in my late 20s, I decided to go back to school to be a teacher and got my art education degree, and that's what I've done ever since. So that feels really good to me. Definitely am happy that I made that choice, but I've never been able to completely subsist off my art, unfortunately. I dream about it. Be nice.
What would you say to a kid wanting to pursue art as a career?
I would say that the same thing my mom told me, who's an artist, which is just that everything takes practice, and you really do have to work hard on a daily basis usually to get good at something to the point where you can market it to other people who need it as a skill. And even when you think even when you're happy with what you are accomplishing, just keep practicing it, because it's sort of like any other muscle. Like, if you don't use it, it won't stay as sharp. And I do feel like you sometimes never know how else you can grow until you've like gotten there and you've grown. So it's kind of awesome how we change even when we think we're doing fine as we are.
I spent 10, 15 years being unhappy because I tried to not be an artist. I tried to be a teacher, I tried to be a baker, I tried to be a retail worker, I tried to be all sorts of different things, and none of them were me. And so now I'm in the middle of changing my career, and I'm loving it, but I do wish that I'd done it earlier.
To make as much art as you can, talk to as many artists as you can, see if it's something you truly love and could do day after day after day. And most artists either have another source of income or have another job. But you can, sure you can make an artist, you can become an artist as your main job. But I would definitely see that that's where your heart is first.
I would say if it is your calling, if it feels like the direction you want to go in, then do it. But like anything in life, it takes work, and it takes finding how you can make your way. It's not as easy as some fields, and you have to really, really want it. And I think it's always good to have a backup plan. Just saying.
I agree.
If you do want to be a professional artist, I hope that you're encouraged now to sort of keep working, and that you know a pathway that you can now follow in order to help you build that foundation to start getting all the skills that you need to be a professional eventually. I hope that you also realize that it's not an easy thing to do. But if you have a passion for art and you're willing to work hard and learn how to make the things that you want to make, if you're willing to educate yourself to get the skills that you need to make connections with other artists, tailor your education to the industry that really interests you, and have patience with yourself as you're going through all of this, then that's a really, really great place for you to be starting. Being an artist can be a super rewarding thing to do with your life. I know I certainly love it. Thank you for the artists who contributed to this video, and thank you to Melissa for asking me to make this video. Have a wonderful day.